The Open Catalan Opening is considered as one of the most positional chess openings you can ever play. In this opening, you develop your knight, then venture to your bishop, then safeguard your king with castling, and only after completing the development, you start accumulating small advantages in the position, and then you go for the bigger ones. Well, that's how it happened in the 9th round of the Fide Candidates chess tournament. Our boy Anish Giri played this opening and won in a very smooth and positional way against the Chinese player Wang Hao. Well, there are many intricacies in this opening and we will be looking at how to play in the middle game in this opening through the game of Anish Giri, guys. So guys, stay tuned till the end and understand what happened in this game and what are the things we can learn from this beautiful game played by Anish Giri. So in this game, Anish Giri was white and Wang Hao was black. He started with d4 move, black played knight to f6, then Anish played c4, e6 and knight f3. Well, there are many alternatives like knight c3 and all. The position might be converted into something else. Now he goes for d5 and here this is the queen's gambit opening, and if you play knight c3 the game will be converted into queen's gambit, but our boy Anish Giri wanted to play g3, the Catalan opening. And just to let you know, this opening was played several times by the former 2 world chess champions. One is Vladimir Kramnik and second one is our very own Vishy Anand. And it is said that when Vishy Anand was playing against Veselin Topelo in the World Chess Championship match, he decided to play this opening because in this opening the computer preparation will not be that much helpful. You have to understand the small intricacies in the opening, and Kramnik came up to the help of Vishy Anand and then he won the game in a great style, guys. So let's see what happens. How to play in the middle game, that matters a lot in this opening rather than just playing 10 moves accurately. Okay, so black castles in this position, white also castles. They completed the development, d into c4 and now queen c2. Okay, now queen c2, a6 is played. Well, now here queen into c4 is one of the moves which you can play, and another move which was played in the game was a4, but we will see what happens if queen into c4 is played. Well, if you play queen c4, then black will get the chance to play b5 and develop the bishop on c8 to b7, means on this a8 to h1 diagonal. Okay, so queen might go to c2 square, bishop will be developed on b7, bishop d2. Well, this bishop is eyeing towards the a5 square and the c7 pawn can be attacked. Pay attention to this thing. So that's why sometimes player go for rook to a7, then followed by rook c1, then c7 pawn is attacked, so he plays bishop to e4, and well, there are several different options here. Okay, here bishop e4 is also one of the moves which black can play, and white usually goes with queen to c1, bishop b7 goes back. If you want to make a draw, then obviously queen c2 and bishop e4 is one of the ways, but if you don't want to make a draw, then obviously here white can go for bishop f4, which is considered as the good move. Knight will be developed in the center, knight d5, knight comes into the center, knight c3, well, knight into f4, and we can capture on f4, and the positional is smooth and the game will go on. Okay, this was one of the possibilities in the position which could have happened if white captures on c4, but here Anish decided to play rock solid. He plays a4, and now bishop is not able to come on this diagonal so easily, because the moment you play b7 to b6 or b5, the knight will be jumping to e5 square and the bishop's diagonal will be opened and black will be in trouble. So how to develop the bishop? Well, guys, here I would like to tell a very small thing, that when I was staying with the Grandmaster Swapnil Dhopade in one of the tournament, he was paired against a very strong Grandmaster. That time Swapnil was not a Grandmaster, and he drew the game very smoothly after playing bishop d7 and bishop c6. He neutralized the position, the bishop was exchanged and the game was drawn very easily. After the game I asked him like, how did you manage to do it? He said like, this is a very standard idea, and at that time I did not know that bishop can be played bishop d7, bishop c6 and capture on g2. We normally think like this is the wastage of the time, but this is actually a very good plan. Okay, so white captures the pawn on c4, bishop c6 comes. He is just trying to neutralize the bishop on g2. Okay, pay attention to it. Now he develops the bishop to f4 square. Obviously bishop g5 is also one of the options which we can go for. I will even consider that move here for you. Bishop d5 will be played, queen will go to c2 square, bishop e4, queen c1. If h6 is played, we can just capture on f6, bishop into f6, bishop into f6, and now rook will come to d1 square because the pawn on d4 is being attacked by 2 pieces here. Okay, so after this knight needs to come in the game. So usually whenever a4 is played, always remember that the black player plays a5 move. Okay, because the knight is going for the weakened square, that is b4. b4 is considered as the hole in the position. Knight d2, the bishop is being attacked, bishop needs to go back to c6 square. Okay, there is also one okay, bishop c6 is not that good. Bishop into f3 I guess is better option, because after this you play the standard move c6, blocking this bishop on f3, and okay, the play will go on with knight a6, and this knight will be coming on b4 and so on. Well, one thing I want to tell you, if bishop c6 will be played, then okay, sorry, not that move, e4 is a good idea, and white will be getting good control in the center with his 2 pawns. Okay, so here in the game bishop f4 was played, and after bishop f4 black plays bishop d6. Now we need to decide whether to play bishop into d6 or play queen to c1 supporting this bishop, or play something else. Well, Anish is a very well prepared player, guys, in the world, and he knows his stuff. He plays knight to c3. He allows his opponent to capture on f4. Any normal player will think like, okay, he is ruining his pawn structure, why is he playing this move? Well, if you pay attention to the position a little bit more closely, then you will understand that here white is actually getting more control in the center. His knight is going to jump on the e5 square very soon. Okay, the bishops will be exchanged anyhow, but after knight lands on e5 square, white will be having good control in the center after e3. This pawn structure is good and if you need to attack, then the g file which is now opened up will be handy for white. Like you can play h3, king h2, rook g1 will come here, and we will be putting pressure on the g file. Okay, these are the planning in this position. So here after g into f4, black plays a5. As I mentioned earlier, the knight is heading towards the b4 square. Excuse me. Well, knight was also can come to d7 square, but usually knight d7 is not considered good because of white's move a5. And after a5, black is kind of little bit cramped in this position. Knight is not having any good squares to move around, and that's why black players usually play a5, getting the knight to the b4 square. Remember this fact. Okay, so white plays e3. I would like to just tell you that the way white is playing slowly and gradually, Petrosian used to play like this. He used to be called as the Python, means Python strategy, you can say, slow and gradually. Slowly and gradually, slow and steady wins the race, they say. Bishop into g2, king into g2, and now c6. Black is controlling the d5 square. Okay, fine. And now, as I mentioned, the king cannot really stay on this file anymore, so he needs to play h3 to get some square on h2. And also one more thing is like knight g4 is also stopped in future, maybe if you need to. Queen b6, he is attacking the pawn on b2. White just goes behind with the queen, because on c4 the queen is not doing that good job, and if it's needed, the knight might come to c4 square and attack the queen as well as the pawn on a5. So he plays that move. Black is in hurry, so he plays c5. He needs to do something in the position. White simply develops the rook here with rook fd1 supporting the pawn. Black captures the pawn, rook captures the pawn. Pay attention to this thing that white should not capture e into d4. Well, you can capture, but look at this pawn structure. It will be like the broken thread, and it is not at all good. So rook into d4, a very smooth move. Rook a d8, and now he captures rook into d8 in this position. Well, if you capture rook into d8, which looks a very natural move, but white will be getting some advantage in the position after queen b5, because if you capture here, obviously the pawn on a5 will be falling, because the knight is being attacked. Knights to go to c5, and we can capture the pawn here. And if you don't capture on b5, if you play queen c7, then white might get the a5 pawn anyhow with knight c4, and it's very difficult to support the pawn on a5. Okay, so here he plays queen into d8, and now white develops the rook with the tempo, rook d1, and well, here he plays Wang Hao plays a very strange move, queen to a8. I understand that he wants to play at some point b5, b4, and get some check or something like that. So Anish understands this thing also. He just pushes the king away from the diagonal, plays king g1. Knight finally arrives on b4 square. Now what to do? Here Anish goes for the other weakness in black's camp. He plays queen b5, eyeing towards the b7 as well as the a5 pawn. Okay, as white's b4 square is weakened, black's b5 square is also weakened. Okay, this is a mutual weakness, we can say. Knight comes on d5 square, white captures on d5, knight captures on d5, and now here Anish shifts the rook from d1 to c1, just trying to control the c file. Obviously now rook c8 is not a possibility, because rook into c8, queen into c8, and we can just capture the pawn on a5. So the queen is kind of stuck over there. Okay, and Anish is hoping that his rook should arrive on the 7th rank if it's possible. For that, this knight should move from the square. Okay. So he waits in this position, plays h6, trying to get some room for the king over here. Now what to do? Well, we want to stop black from playing this rook from f8 square. So Anish plays a very smooth move, queen d7. He is testing his opponent's patience here, guys. Now black goes behind with knight to f6. He plays queen d6, a very important move. Now maybe in future, if he gets the chance, then rook will arrive on the 7th rank. Right now it is not possible because of the threat of knight e8. For example, let's suppose in this position he played g6, okay, and if you play rook c7, then it will be a mistake because of the knight e8, and you will lose one of the, like, exchange down will be position, means black will lose some, black will gain something here in this position. So Anish plays a simple move b3, like supporting the pawn on a4. Very smooth play, guys. In this opening you need to play slow and steady moves, like you don't need to do anything big, you just need to go slowly and steadily. Now black plays h5, okay, no problem. Now he plays king h2, just in case if he wants to play rook g1, he is getting prepared. Okay, so black plays king g7, and here he plays a very subtle move. He plays queen d4. Obviously the threat is to play knight d7 and capture the knight on f6 very soon. Okay, so here black plays rook d8, stopping everything. He goes behind with queen to b2. Queen b8 is played, and now he plays a very interesting move, b4, because from this side, if you can see that king side is already too much blocked in this position, you cannot really make any progress. It's only the queen side where white can actually do something in this position, because his pieces are active. The knight is very nicely placed in the center of the board, so you need to take some advantage of that small advantage which you have. So black plays a into b4, and now any normal player will just capture queen into b4, and black might just play knight d5, and you will not get any advantage. But Anish saw something different in this position. He goes for rook c4, attacks the pawn on b4. If you play knight d5 in this position, then it will be a big mistake, because the discard check is there. We can just simply play knight d7, and we will be getting the queen on b8. So it's not at all possible in this position, and the pawn on b4 is falling. Once you capture the pawn on b4 with the rook and the queen both will be attacking the pawn on b7, and black will be in trouble. Okay, so here black plays b3, trying to get some time, but he plays rook b4. Queen a7 was played. He captures the pawn on b3 first, queen into a4, and finally the rook arrives on b7 square. That is the 7th rank, and we all know this thing that rook on the 7th rank is like a bliss in the position, and obviously white is getting so much of play. Okay, so here he tries to defend the pawn on f7 with queen e8. If you want to grab the queen, then we can play rook into f7, but the game will be played on for a long time. So Anish doesn't want to capture the queen, he wants to capture something bigger. He wants to go for the king, so he plays rook a7 with the simple idea of playing queen b7, and the pawn on f7 will be falling. Okay, here if you play rook b8, this is one of the moves which is a possibility in this position. Then I will say, like, queen is being attacked, so we can just simply play queen to c2, and we can go for queen c7. If he again plays this move, okay, no, not that move, sorry. If he again plays this move, then we can play queen into g6. This is the point of playing queen to c2, because the pawn on f7 is pinned, and we can capture the pawn on g6 with the help of the knight. The last intricacies in the game, I will say. Okay, he plays rook d5 in this position, and finally the queen also arrives on the 7th rank, and the pawn on f7 is not at all going to saved here. He plays rash try, okay, knight e4, and Anish captures the pawn on f7, and Wang Hao decided to resign this game. Well, why is he resigning? It's quite obvious. Like, if you try to come back, then discovered check will be there. We can play knight e5 check in this position, and if king h6 is played with queen h7, queen g7 is just going to be a check and mate. If you play knight to g7, we'll just get the knight here in this position free of cost. Well, that's why he resigned after knight into f7. We can perfectly understand that thing. What a smooth game, guys. Petrosian will be very proud after looking at this game, guys. Petrosian means the former world chess champion, even Kramnik and Anand also. And the way he has played this Catalan opening, I will even say this thing that Vidit is the part of the preparation for sure, because Vidit has played this opening since his childhood. I have seen him playing this opening quite often. So hats off to our man. He is on fire now. So we are rooting for Anish Giri. If you like this video, if you think like it's a very instructive video, do comment about it in the comment section, guys. Like this video, and subscribe to my channel if you are new here. So we'll be meeting very soon. Take care. Goodbye. See you all.